Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you today to Include NYC Online, Remote IEP Meetings. My name is Rich Overton. I'll be operational support today. Today's presentation will be presented by Catherine Stanzoni. A little bit about Include NYC. For more than 3 decades, we have been helping young people with disabilities, their families, and professionals. We help New York City families make informed decisions about special education, navigate disability systems, and advocate for themselves. We were founded by 3 moms who had children with disabilities and wanted to share information with other families. We offer workshops, a helpline, and resources, which we are adapting to respond to coronavirus-related school closures. You can find online workshops, parent support groups, and live streams on the Include NYC website calendar. If you have individual questions and want to speak to an educator after this webinar, please feel free to call our Include NYC helpline at 212-677-4660 or fill out our help request form on our website at www.includenyc.org. We also have new timely special education resources on our website related to remote learning, fun activities at home, self-care, and more. Please subscribe to our emails on our website homepage or follow us on social media at Include NYC for updates. A few housekeeping tips for today. Whether you are an Include NYC veteran or you're joining us for the first time, we're very glad that you're here and we hope you'll participate. When you enter this room, your sound and video will be off. You can share your thoughts, questions, or technical issues in the chat box, or use the Q&A box for questions toward the end for our educator. The educator and myself will do our best to respond. Please note, we have many more attendees than expected for today's webinar, and we understand that this topic is extremely important right now. Our guest presenter will do her best to answer as many questions as possible, but unfortunately, we may not be able to answer every one. Again, just to receive individual support following this webinar, please fill out our help request form online at includenyc.org. And our helpline is 212-677-4660. Our educator tonight will also be sharing other email addresses to get further support. We do appreciate everyone's patience and understanding, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please welcome Catherine Stanzoni, Special Education Trainer, Staten Island Regional Partnership Center, and NYCDOE Special Education Office for Division of Specialized Instruction and Student Support. Over to you, Catherine.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I hope everyone's doing well today. Thank you very much for joining. My name is Catherine Stanzoni, and I'm excited to be your guest host this evening. I first want to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to attend the webinar. I know as a mother of a 10-year-old that the clock doesn't just stop when your workday is over, and I appreciate the time that you're dedicating to be here today. We're all doing our best to manage during this time. Someone's drilling outside, so hopefully you guys can still hear me very well. That being said, though, during COVID-19 related school closures, IEP meetings are still going to continue happening, but they'll be taking place remotely, such as over video chat like what we're doing now, or over the telephone. So tonight I will be sharing some tips for families and schools on how to prepare for and how to manage a remote IEP meeting. And I want to start off with some tips for families. So our first tip for families is to, I'm sorry, one second. Okay, to confirm the meeting date, the time, and the type of invitation. For example, if it's a Microsoft Teams or a Google Classroom meeting, these platforms are both compliant with FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Both of these platforms also give parents the option to call in using a telephone number and a PIN, as well as the option to join remotely with video. The second tip, if you're planning to join the meeting through video, you might want to email the team and ask them if they can share the screen with you so that you can see the IEP pages during the meeting as they go through them. If desired, you also can request a parent member 72 hours before the meeting starts. Sorry for the drill, I hear it again. You can elect to have special education records sent to you electronically via email. So you can just send an email saying that it's okay. Special education records include any meeting notices, prior written notices, IEPs, assessments, progress reports, etc. Once you have these records, review them before the meeting so that you can write down questions that you might want to ask during the meeting. Another tip is that actually links to the tip sheet that you guys were emailed prior to the meeting starting. You had 3 different attachments. Linked to the tip sheet is a parent survey tool, which is one of the attachments, and it looks like this. So this tool is aligned to each section of the present levels of performance, or the plot of the IEP, and you can use it to preview the kinds of questions that will be discussed during the meeting in advance, so it can help you to participate during the meeting. Another tip is to review last year's IEP, including the goals, the program and services, the mandates, and the progress notes prior to the meeting. You can also reach out to your child's providers for an update so that you're aware of how they're progressing and you won't be caught off guard by any changes to recommendations that will be suggested during the meeting. Another suggestion is to talk with your child prior to the meeting to determine what is helping them and what isn't. There's a student survey, which I'm going to pull up now and also show you. There's a student survey, which is very similar to the parent survey. It's also aligned to all sections of the plot, the present levels of performance. And you can use that, work on it with your child prior to the meeting to ensure that their voice is part of the IEP. If your child is 14 years or older, ask them to attend the meeting. They were invited anyway. You can use the student survey to have a pre-meeting or to practice meeting with your child to prepare. So that's another way that that could be used. At the meeting or during the meeting, listen for understanding rather than listening to respond. Keep the completed parent and student surveys handy to help you and your student if they're attending, because they'll help you to stay focused and ensure that you're able to cover everything that you planned on saying before the meeting. Sometimes during the meeting, you get nervous or a lot of things are being discussed and you want to refocus yourself to make sure that you hit all the points that you wanted to. Again, you can ask the team to share their screen with you of the draft IEP, and they can pull it up and go through each page with you so that you can follow along and ask questions as needed. When the meeting's over, ask for a copy of the program recommendation page to confirm your understanding of what's been recommended. Also ask when the finalized copy of the IEP will be available to you and how it will be shared with you. Again, if you elected to have things sent to you electronically, that is one option for how it can be sent to you, but you just want to clarify. As with any meeting, if there were problems that were not resolved, plan for further discussion. Okay. The next set of tips are more geared for school teams, but I do want to note that the New York City Department of Education has specific guidance for school teams already available on the Info Hub on the DOE website. The tips that I'm sharing here are more general and some can apply to families as well, and I'll point those ones out. So the first tip for school teams would be to arrange for families, teachers, and service providers to participate in the meeting. And that means that all IEP attendees would be notified 7 days prior to the meeting. The invitation should include the date, time, telephone number, and access code if needed for the meeting, or a link to the platform that's being used. When reaching out to families to schedule meetings, explain the process that you're using and encourage parents to try it if it's an unfamiliar tool, such as one of the video platforms. You can even include a link to the New York State procedural safeguards in the email so that they have it to reference as needed. Another tip it would be to inform all participants that they should be present for the entire duration of the IEP meeting and that they'll be actively participating during the meeting. Part of that participation, falls into our next tip. Provide any new evaluation materials and reports being discussed to team members, which includes the parent, 7 days prior to the meeting. This way everyone can participate in the meeting. Establish the video conferencing connection several minutes before the meeting starts, if that's the platform that you're using. And if you're going to be using a telephone conference, you can try, or if the parent's using the telephone and they're not using the video option, you can have them try, or you can also try the phone number that you sent them with the PIN to make sure that that's all working. And I would recommend at least 15 minutes prior to the meeting that you want to make sure all of those connections are set up. One of the most important tips, and it's actually something that backfired on us a little bit today, but now it seems to have gotten better, is to find a quiet location with minimal external noise and dedicate an uninterrupted time for the duration of the meeting. The space should be quiet and free from distractions. Ensure that the background of the location is appropriate and professional for all video conferences. And another really important one, and actually the last tip, is to present in the same manner that you would if it was a face-to-face meeting. We're being professional, but we're also, connecting with each other. Offer to share your screen as you go through each part of the IEP so everyone's following along. Make sure everyone's voice is heard, etc. Okay, so now at this point, we're going to have some time for questions and answers. As was stated before, there are a lot of participants here today, which I'm grateful for, and I think that's wonderful. I'll do my best to answer as many questions as possible. If you have any specific questions that I don't get to, you can also reach out to the Include NYC helpline. The phone number is 212-677-4660 to speak with someone in English. You can also call 212-677-4668 to speak with someone in Spanish. As always, you can continue to reach out to the special education at schools.nyc.gov email, and also to include nyc.org. So I'm going to open up for questions now. And I see that some people have used the Q&A and some have used the chat. I'm going to first go to the Q&A. Let's see. So one question is, how long is this meeting? It will be ending at 5:40. So that's one question. Let's see. Another question is, what if they're using a phone? Can you request a video call so that you can see what they are working on? I'm not sure if I understand the question itself. So for the they, is it that if the DOE personnel or the school team rather is using a video call, is using a phone, can you request to see it? Because if that's the case, if they're not showing it to you on the screen and they're the only person that has a screen available, then they're not probably going to put video on their phone. But you would just go over each section and just ask for clarification. And after, when the IEP is emailed to you, you'll have time to review it then. Let me see another question. Are the materials that we gave out available in Spanish? I'm not sure. I saw them up in English. It's probably something that could be translated, though, in terms of the surveys. Yes, okay, so I see another question, 7 days prior. Is this 7 school days or 7 calendar days? 7 calendar days. Okay. So there are a few questions about turning 5 meetings coming up in the Q&A. What I will say for that is that there is a separate mailbox, which is turning5@schools.nyc.gov. You can email them or reach out to the helpline for Include NYC for specific questions related to turning 5. Another question is, what is it that we, the parents, need to have 7 days prior? So you should be notified in advance of the meeting, 7 days prior at least. And if there are any materials that are going to be discussed, so if it's a meeting where there was testing done and there will be a report of the testing, the evaluations being discussed, you should have those 7 days prior to the meeting. There are a lot of very specific technical questions that are not going to be able to be answered this way, but I would suggest emailing them. There are a lot of, again, Turning 5 questions. I email them to the Turning 5 mailbox and also to include NYC. I believe this is a school staff question, technical questions. How do I scan or upload to send IEP to parents via email? So if you have permission from the parent to receive electronic school records, for them to receive it electronically rather, you can save it as a PDF on your computer and then send them that PDF. So another question here is, how long are the remote IEP meetings supposed to last? There is no time frame for the meetings. As long as you cover all of the bases and everyone has reached consensus to the best ability possible, that's how long it will take. And that's going to vary depending on what type of meeting it is, what's being discussed or considered, etc. So the IEP meetings can vary depending on all of those things. So one person said the DOE is using a phone. There are different people in all different schools doing different things in terms of what they're comfortable with. So yes, they can use a phone, but I know a lot of DOE people are also doing these platforms. They're using Microsoft Teams, and they're not using Zoom, but they are using Google Classroom. So if you are comfortable with those and it wasn't given to you as an option, you can suggest it, request it. I'm just looking for more questions. So one question is, when you say material should be provided 7 days before the meeting, does that include the draft? No, I'm not talking about the draft IEP here, no. I'm talking about last year's IEP if you don't have it and you're requesting to see that. I'm talking about any evaluation reports that will be discussed during this meeting, etc. Not the current IEP, no. So one question is, if we are going to be video chatting, how can we have translation services if needed? I know that there are translation services that can be called in as well during the meeting. If not, you can ask for, and that's something you would want to set up and discuss with the school in advance before the meeting so they have time to find a translator or have an agency be called into the meeting so that they can do that. Next question. Will this Zoom session be available to watch again later? Yes, it will be archived, I believe, and it will be on, there'll be a link on the Include website for it.
Yes, it will. Thanks.
Okay. Just looking through all of these. Okay, so one of these questions says, how will I receive prior written notice during remote learning? So once the IEP is finalized, that will be depending on what you said, if you gave permission for things to be shared with you electronically or not. The IEP would be sent to you, and the prior written notice is also a record that can be sent to you electronically.
Catherine?
Yes.
Just so everyone knows, I just got word we're in the process of translating the materials that were emailed in Spanish.
Perfect.
So if anyone is interested in attaining them, they can email info@includenyc.org, and I'll also add that to the chat box.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question is, can a psychologist be requested to attend the meeting? If you're going to request anyone attend the meeting and they're not on the attendance page, that's something that you want to set up before the date of the meeting. So you're not going to request when the meeting starts, can the psychologist participate? Because especially now that we're not all in the same building, you want to give that person notice so that they can schedule time to be a part of the meeting also. So I would recommend putting that in writing and requesting that they become part of the meeting prior to the meeting. So I'm seeing a question about a reconvene. That would be the same thing. You can request a reconvene through whoever you're communicating with from the school that sent you the notice. You can respond to that person's email and just put in writing. Or if you have a relationship with a teacher or a psychologist and you have their information, you can reach out to them and send them the request to reconvene. Just send an email to them requesting that. Okay, so someone's asking if the email with the materials presented here, if that can be resent to participants because they cannot find the materials. I don't know if it can be resent, but I do know that the tip sheet is a living document on the Include NYC website, and within that tip sheet, there are embedded links in blue to the parent survey and to the student survey. So you can find them that way if you can't open the email or if you don't have the email.
I'll also be happy to email the materials again right after this webinar.
Okay. I'll probably be able to take probably 2 more questions. I'm just looking through. There are a lot of, like I said, Turning 5 specific questions that would be sent to the mailbox. For, again, that's turning5@schools.nyc.gov. One question is, can students also participate in the video conference? Yes, if they're a student that's 14 or older, they're invited to their meeting and we're encouraging them to attend. If you have a student that's younger than that and you plan on having your child attend, let the school team know that they're going to be attending their meeting. And again, you can use that student survey to help practice with your student if they are going to attend. And I'll do one more. What if my child is due for their triennial? Do they have information on that? So if they already scheduled your triennial, that can also happen via remote conference. Yes.
Catherine, was that the final question?
It was going to be. I was just I'm looking. I feel like we have a little bit more time.
Yeah, no worries.
So I'm looking to see if there's anything that's a quick enough answer. So one question is, what is the draft IEP? The draft IEP is the IEP before and during the meeting, where we're working everything out together and putting everyone's concerns and questions and suggestions into the meeting. And once it's finalized, you get a copy of it. You do get to leave the meeting and get a copy of the recommended programs and services page. So the draft is while it's all being worked out, because remember that parents and families, you know, if you're attending the meeting, you're a part of that team as well. So that will be the last question because I see the time already. And I know that there's a poll that's going to be coming up, and it'll be left up for you guys for approximately 2 to 3 minutes, I believe. And I don't see the poll, so.
I'm going to put that up right now.
Okay.
Thanks, Catherine. We appreciate everyone's feedback for the poll. We'll leave this up for about 2 minutes or so.
Oh, I do see the poll.
Okay, we'll leave the poll up for 1 more minute.
I will note, I do see a lot of DOE specific questions. I just want to remind everyone that on the info hub for DOE employees, there is very specific guidance regarding different types of meetings and how to send things out to parents, and how to document that you're contacting and trying to arrange for your meetings. So those questions will all be able to be addressed if they just go to that website, which is, again, is the NYCDOE website, the info hub. And I believe it's called Guidance for Remote IEP Meetings.
Thanks, Catherine. I just took down the poll, so over to you.
Right, well, I just wanted to thank everyone again for attending. I hope that this gave some helpful hints that will help your IEP meetings go smoother. You know, this is a transitional time for all of us. We're working out a lot of these kinks together. I just want to remind everyone that there are different emails and telephone numbers that they can call if they do have any questions that we were not able to get to. The Include NYC helpline is 212-677-4660 for English, and 212-677-4668 for Spanish. You can also go onto the IncludeNYC.org website, and then you also know that there's special education at schools.nyc.gov as one mailbox to email, and Turning 5, which a lot of questions were for, Turning 5 at schools.nyc.gov. Thank you guys very much for your time. I appreciate it.